And welcome to the Journal Editorial Report. I'm Edward Lawrence, in for Paul. So another roller coaster ride on Wall Street this week as markets reacted to rising recession fears and continuing tariff uncertainty. President Trump defending his on-again, off-again tariff strategy from the Oval Office on Wednesday as he looked ahead to what he calls the big one on April 2nd.
It's called flexibility. It's not called inconsistency. It's called flexibility. I'll always have flexibility, but there will be very little flexibility once we start. April 2nd is going to be a very big day for the United States of America. The United States of America is going to take back a lot of what was stolen from it by other countries and by, frankly, incompetent U.S. leadership.
Yes, so joining me now is Doug Holtz-Eakin, the president of the American Action Forum and former director of the Congressional Budget Office. So let's start with, first of all, thanks for being here, but let's start with tariffs. Clearly the markets hate tariffs going forward. We saw the Dow close down multiple days this week. Now, does the president have a number where he's looking at on the Dow where he says, okay, we need to slow down on this tariff talk?
He's never announced such a thing, but if you look back to when he first was president, he did a lot of tariffs, and the S&P got down into 20% decline into correction territory, and he did a U-turn and sort of backed off on some of the steel and aluminum tariffs. Ultimately, he carved out Canada, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, Germany, most of our steel imports. So he's got a history of putting the tariffs on and then sort of moderating their impact over time.
So what do you think of the strategy here? I mean, the president put a 50% tariff on steel and aluminum, for example,
right,
on Canada on Monday. And on Tuesday, pulled back to the 25%, which he's putting in place. He's got the USMCA exemptions in place for, at the moment, tariffs that are going in. And then with an eye on now April 2nd as that big reciprocal tariff, what do you make of the back and forth and the whiplash?
I think it's hard for market participants, the public in general, to understand the strategy. They haven't really articulated the strategy. I think there's one set of tariffs, steel, aluminum, pharmaceuticals, chips, those kinds of products where you have one set of objectives, which are national security objectives, and you want to shelter the domestic industry. Then you have tariffs against Canada and Mexico. Those, to me, are the most damaging. Now, he hasn't put those in place yet, but that area, the North American economic area, is very integrated. The cost implications and the inflation pressures that come out of those 25% tariffs are much larger than like putting it on China, which we've done before. So I think they underestimated the impact you'd get out of those tariffs. But putting them on, taking them off, raising them, then not, I think it's just left everyone confused about what are we trying to accomplish here.
When you say underestimate the impact on tariff, is that maybe why he's backed off some of them?
I hope so, because I think the economic impact is quite dramatic. The 25% tariffs in and of themselves, that's a recession for Canada. Canada and the U.S. are closely linked, so that raises recession fears in the U.S. Go to 50%, that's an enormous impact. And so you have to keep an eye on what are the implications for the growth of the economy.
Do you think the president should have come out slower and more thoughtfully laid out how he's going to do the tariffs before he does the tariffs? Or?
I think people are just begging for some guidance. Like, if he's the Federal Reserve, the Federal Reserve says, all right, here's our forward guidance. We're trying to get to a 2% inflation target. We're going to give you a dot plot of what we think interest rates are going to look like. You can sort of sort out for yourself what you think will make it. But you have some idea what's going on. People have no idea what happens next. And it looks essentially random when you go up 25% and down in a day. And so that, I think, is a big part of the problem.
Guidance. I want to turn to the CPI inflation numbers.
Yep.
They were a little softer than expected, with core inflation actually 3.1%, which is the lowest level in 4 years. We're not seeing inflation that the Democrats warned about.
Yet, right? Remember, we're still looking at inflation numbers when there's very little in the way of tariffs in place. China, basically. I'd say the right way to think about the inflation is, the good news is inflation is low and stable, 2.5% to 3%, depending on your measure. The bad news is it's not 2%. Right? It's sort of stopped making progress toward the 2% target, and now the Fed is on hold trying to figure out what will happen next.
Do the tariffs impact this?
No question. This is a substantial amount of trade that's going to be impacted, something like 4 times as much as the last time around. These are big tariffs, and tariffs in the end are taxes. There's no way around that, and taxes raise costs. So,
but last time around, the tariffs did not cause inflation.
But they were largely focused on places where we didn't have extensive supply chains. The tariffs on Canada and Mexico, just autos alone, that adds to a really big impact on costs. So I think these are much more dramatic proposals.
Fed Reserve comes up on Wednesday.
Yes.
They're going to look at possibly pausing is what the indication is. The Federal Reserve chairman saying this week that he wanted to see how President Trump's policies shake out because they can't forecast the impact of the tariffs at the moment. Should the Federal Reserve, do you think, right now be cutting rates?
I think the Fed's in a terrible position. Tariffs are in and of themselves stagflationary. They raise costs and so put upward pressure on prices. They make things expensive for consumers and businesses, so they're a headwind to growth. That's a bad combination. Which one does the Fed push it back against, the inflationary impact or the growth impact? If you care more about employment and growth, well, then you're thinking about easing. If you care about the inflation, and people do care about inflation, we've seen the polling on that over the years, you might not want to move yet.
But when you get the tax cuts to offset, do you think we will see a spike in inflation, but then offset somewhere down the road with other policies?
I think it would be hard to avoid some upward pressure on prices, whether it's genuinely inflation or it's just a one-time sort of increase in the cost of some things. That's going to be the issue.
I want to get in this with the last 45 seconds we have. The battle between the Ontario Premier, Doug Ford, that's kind of like our governor, the Premier. He said that he'd put a 25% tax on electricity coming into the U.S. That would affect 1.5 million households here. The president then responded with threatening even more tariffs. So Canada blinked, and Ford has now backed off that, and the president has backed down back to the 25% tariffs to aluminum.
That's a good thing, because you see a lot of calculations by people like me on the impact of the tariffs. But the real impact is the tariffs plus the retaliation. And a big difference this time is everybody's ready to retaliate. Mexico had its retaliation. Canada was ready with its. We're already seeing the Europeans retaliate. China's retaliated. And it's the cumulative effect of both the tariffs and the retaliation. So getting it to stop was a good thing.
Doug Holtz-Eakin, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Yeah.